Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you a pretty simple build, but one of my favorites currently in the game. This is going to be a pre-Arc 3.0 Thundercrash build for Titans. Again, it's very simple because, you know, Arc 3.0 isn't out yet, so there isn't really much you can really do on Arc for either of the classes. It's usually just slap on an exotic, and there you go, that's the build. But, you know, I wanted to get something out on Arc, because I haven't covered Arc in a very long time, and I wanted to cover something really quickly because I want to give people something that they can just enjoy while they wait for Arc. You know, that is Arc focused. So this build is going to utilize the Cuirass of the Falling Star, one of my favorite Titan exotics. And, you know, I am going to be using Thundercrash with that, of course, because you have to. And we're going to be using a few mods that are going to be really nice for the build, and we're also going to be using a few weapons that are going to make the build better as well. So, getting into this, Bad Juju. This is the exotic weapon that we will be pairing with the Cuirass in this build. The reason is that we can farm supers. You know, the whole exotic focuses around getting that Thundercrash and using your Thundercrash for big damage. So we want our Thundercrash back as fast as possible, and Bad Juju is a very good way of doing that. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really like to use Bad Juju against regular ads or whatever, no problem. I'm going to be putting the Forbearance in this build for that purpose. This is our ad clearing weapon and our major destroyer. You don't have to use either of these weapons if you don't want to, but this is what I use in this build a lot. So, yeah. And then I also have Cataclysmic just for Boss DPS as well after I've Thundercrashed. Again, you could use whatever you want. You could use Storm Tracer if you want, because Arc as well. You could use whatever you want. It's really up to you, but this is what I use. So, yeah. Now for the mods, we're keeping it simple. We're going to have Elemental Ordnance, because Arc Grenades are pretty strong, and when Arc 3.0 comes out, everyone will have access to all of them. So you could have, like, Storm Grenades and stuff, and those are pretty fun. Currently, right now, I'm actually using Flashbangs, because I'm not using a Blinding Launcher, and I get my grenades back really fast because of my high discipline. So being able to spam Flashbangs is really good, actually. It lasts quite a long time, they get blinded for a long time, and it blinds pretty much all enemies, except from, like, big boy bosses, Ultras. So, yeah, it's pretty fun, and it does a lot of damage, so I get Elemental Ordnance to proc a lot, and, yeah, we can use Elemental Ordnance and those Arc Wells to use Font of Wisdom, because, as you can see, I have not spec'd into Intellect, and the reason for that is because I like to have my main abilities up more than having Intellect, because you don't actually need Intellect. Having Font of Wisdom, if you didn't know, automatically brings your Intellect to 100. You get tier 10 Intellect for free. No matter how much Intellect you have, when you pick up Font of Wisdom Wells, it'll automatically just go to tier 10. So, technically right now, when I pick this up, I have tier 10 Resi, Discipline, In, and Strength for 30 seconds, because this lasts 30 seconds. And then, you know, it takes 35 seconds to get a grenade back, so pretty much every time this runs out, I'll have it re-procced anyway, which is really great. And then also, because I am using lots of explosive things, the Thundercrash melee ballistic slam counts as explosive, my Forbearance counts as explosive, and also my super counts as explosive, and my grenades count as explosive. I have decided to throw an explosive Wellmaker so that I can get a bit of health. So I will, you know, destroy something with an explosive, and that'll create a solar well, and with that solar well, I can use Well of Life, which is going to give me the health. It lasts about 10 seconds, I think, and it gives you a small bump of regeneration every second, so that's really nice. And of course, Arc right now doesn't really have much healing. Of course, I do have double Soul Drinker. You know, this is especially really good for Soul Drinker and for healing, so, you know, I'm kind of saved with just Forbearance alone. But I wanted a bit more healing on the side because, you know, Arc is in a really weird spot when it comes to healing and survivability and whatnot. So, you know, I've got Well of Life, I've also got Soul Drinker to keep me alive, alongside having fast supers and perma abilities and whatnot. So that's really great. And then also have Radiant Light for stats because, you know, I do want these stats here. You can actually see I do have a bit of mod freedom. I do have a recurve mod. So what you can do if you want to, you know, change up things and get whatever else in here, you can. Right now I'm using like grenade launcher loader, binders and stuff, and scavs even. I can fit all that in, and, you know, I'm basically helping out Forbearance as much as possible, but if you want to get really anything in here, you can, aside from what I've got. But also, there is actually a different route you can take. If you don't want to go with the Explosive Wellmaker Well of Life route, you can actually run this mod right here. Energy Converter. It's pretty pricey, but of course, if you have mod freedom like I do, you can get that in pretty easily. And what this will do is it will give you super energy back when you use a grenade if you're under 50% super. So you could essentially use Font of Wisdom to get your super fast with bad Juju. You'd pop your super, and then you'd throw a grenade immediately after to proc Elemental Ordnance, which will get Font of Wisdom back. And at the same time that is happening, you'll also get a big bump to super energy from Energy Converter. So everything kind of just cycles together. I did try that. It is very, very fun, but I prefer the survivability over getting that little bit of super energy. It does rely on how many stacks you have, and unless you take away Radiant Light, you'll probably only have 2 stacks, which is like 20% super energy, which is still very good. You know, 20% super energy for free is incredible, right? But, you know, it's not really necessary. You don't really need that. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. Again, very straightforward, very simple, not really much to talk about. I guess I should mention, actually, your stats. I do recommend going for these 3. Recov isn't exactly needed too much anymore because, you know, teammates have so much healing that they can give you. I also have Well of Life and Soul Drinker. So, you know, Recov was kind of an afterthought. Moby is completely useless. I don't really have any value with Moby in PvE unless I'm a hunter. And again, Intellect is very useless as well because I have Font of Wisdom, and I like to have these stats right here, which are the stats I recommend. Resilience for the DR, Discipline for the grenades, because grenades are going to be very strong with Arc 3.0, and they're very strong on Arc in general. You know, Flashbangs, Storm Grenades, the chaining that we're going to get in Arc 3.0, and whatnot. Grenades are very valuable, so I do recommend getting that. And then Strength as well for, in my case, the Ballistic Slam, since it's very fun to use. But Arc 3.0 might really make melees big. They might make them very useful. So, you know, if you want to go down that route, you can. Otherwise, if you want to just ditch Strength, you can as well and get something like Recov or In or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can go for what you want. Taking away Strengths means you can take away Radiant Light 2 to free up a mod slot. So that's great. But yeah, that's the build. Let me know what you think. I'm just going to show a little bit of gameplay, just me messing around, killing some enemies, maybe Thundercrashing some bosses, you know, just the usual. But yeah, let me know what you think of the build. Of course, it is very simple, very early. I will be updating this and making a whole slew of Arc 3.0 builds next season, so be ready for that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Adios.